What's up, guys? This is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we are back with another Michigan recruiting report here exclusively on our YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be breaking down the 5 highest ranked recruits who have officially visited Michigan so far. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the Wolverine.com. It's official visit season. There's a lot of news going on. Michigan is starting to heat up on the recruiting trail. Use the promo code UM1, $1 for 2 months over at the Wolverine.com. Again, get everything insider Michigan recruiting, the team, transfer portal, the new settlement, everything going on over at the Wolverine.com for just $1 for 2 months. Use that code UM1. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos. All right, guys. So like I said, we're going to be breaking down the 5 highest ranked recruits who have officially visited Michigan so far. Obviously, 2 more weekends coming up. You know, you have guys like Savion Hyder coming in this weekend. You have a ton of guys coming in for Victor's weekend. So we're only going to be talking about recruits who have visited through the first 2 weekends. Obviously, we're going to start off with the big one. 5-star offensive lineman Felix Ojo, the number 6 overall recruit in the country, was just on campus for an official visit over the weekend. Things went really well with Ojo. I exchanged some messages with him, you know, as he was wrapping up his visit. He had some really positive things to say about his personal relationship with Sharon Moore, as well as offensive line coach Grant Newsome. Ojo's also a high academic kid. He values what Michigan can offer away from the field. And obviously, with the settlement being approved, Michigan has started to shift their NIL approach. You know, they obviously have the backing. They finished strong last cycle, getting Bryce Underwood, Shamari Earls, Jordan Young, and others. So I think if Michigan takes another, you know, strong NIL approach, they will be a factor here for Felix Ojo. I think Texas is going to be tough to beat in this recruitment. You know, even coming out of the Michigan OV, I would probably give Texas the advantage. Ohio State is high up there as well for Ojo, but I think Michigan at least moved up his list and can give him something to think about, you know, now that they are shifting that NIL approach. I think something smart that Michigan did on the OV as well is they had his player host. His player host was Ty Haywood, who is a fellow Dallas-Fort Worth area native, and also, you know, received a nice package on the NIL front from Michigan last cycle. So I think Ty Haywood was able to offer kind of a unique perspective that Ojo can relate to. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next recruit. And remember, we are using the industry rankings here, and we're going with Devon Benjamin, the number 38 overall recruit in the country, top corner out of California. Benjamin made a surprise official visit the first weekend, and you can see he's the number 38 overall recruit on the industry ranking, but he's actually for On3 the number 20 overall recruit and the number 1 corner. I mean, the top ranked corner in the country for our service. And I think when you look at Benjamin, you know, he's not the typical really tall, long, physical corner that Michigan looks for. He's more of a speed guy, a guy that can bring in a lot of speed to the secondary room. He's a prospect who is an elite technician as well, great natural ball skills, just, you know, kind of a blanket cover corner. And, you know, he might not be a Shamari Earls or a Will Johnson or a Kari Adams type of guy, but he is elite in a lot of different things. And I think the versatility that he has can allow him to move around in the secondary as well. He's a hell of a return man on special teams. So, you know, there's a reason Benjamin is ranked extremely high in terms of his recruitment. You know, I think Oregon's probably going to be tough to beat. I think Michigan gave itself a puncher's chance with Benjamin on the official visit. He also was on campus in the spring, but, you know, schools like Oregon, USC, Texas, you know, are giving him a lot to think about as well. So, you know, Lamar Morgan's capable of winning big time recruitments. He did it last cycle, like I said, with Shamari Earls, Jordan Young. So we'll see if he can make more movement here with Benjamin as the cycle continues to run its course. All right, let's head over to our next recruit and stick on the defensive side of the ball and talk about Trenton Henderson, elite edge out of Pensacola, Florida. Michigan is a school that's long been a dark horse for Henderson. They've made him a top priority for several months. Lou Esposito's been down to the Gulf Coast a couple of times to meet with Henderson. And, Ethan McDowell, my teammate over at the Wolverine.com, and I traveled across the country this spring, and we went out and we saw, almost every top Michigan target. And we did our recap this past weekend. And, the question for both of us was, who was the best defensive recruit you saw this spring? And my vote went to Trenton Henderson. He's a guy who fits what Lou Esposito usually looks for in a pass rusher, 6'4", 225, might be closer to 235, 240, to be honest. He has a thick lower half, thick upper half, pretty good length for a guy who's not in the 6'5", 6'6" range. Extremely powerful, extremely explosive. A guy who is made to come in and be a day one impact prospect. Now, I think pulling him out of the Gulf Coast will be tough. LSU and Florida seem to be the schools that have the most buzz. Auburn's still very much involved, but I think Michigan remains that dark horse. And now with numbers being an option, I think Michigan can continue to be a threat behind the scenes. All right, let's go ahead and continue on defense here. We're going to talk about top cornerback Kari Adams out of the DMV, ranked as the number 67 overall recruit nationally. I mentioned Kari Adams when I was talking about Devon Benjamin. Adams is that tall, long corner that Michigan usually looks for. He's listed at 6'1", 180. He actually came in at 6'2", over 180 pounds at the Under Armour Baltimore camp. I mean, he's a dude that's just so well built, thick in the upper half, thick in the lower half, tremendous length. He's the total package. He won the DB MVP at Under Armour Baltimore. He also brings the speed, ran a 10.70 100 meters. So a lot to like about Kari Adams. He is listed as the number 67 overall prospect on the industry, but the number 30 overall prospect on 3, which I think is a little more accurate. I think he's a 5-star level recruit, and Michigan is treating him as such. The Wolverines got in a little late on Adams compared to some of his other top contenders, but Michigan is really surging in this recruitment. I like where the Wolverines stand. I think they've made up a lot of ground in quick fashion. He is set to make his decision here in a few weeks. He has official visits coming up to Notre Dame and Oregon. Penn State remains a threat, but I think Michigan is very capable of winning over Adams, who would be a massive, massive land, very much in the same mold as Shamari Earl's last cycle. All right, let's wrap this up and stick on defense. 4 of the 5 highest ranked recruits on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to talk about linebacker Braden Rouse, the number 100 overall recruit nationally out of Georgia. Rouse came in this past weekend. I think Michigan's done a nice job, much like Kari Adams. They have surged a little bit more here lately. I think Michigan and Texas are the 2 schools that have gained some momentum. With that said, I think Tennessee is the team to beat in this recruitment. I think the Volunteers have that heavy lead on the On3 recruiting prediction machine. They get them last. It's going to be really tough to beat Tennessee. If Michigan is able to win this recruitment, that would be massive. Rouse is one of the best linebacker prospects, or arguably the best, along with Nick Abrams, on that board. He's 6'3", 205, gives him a lot of versatility. He can be this big, imposing Mike. He can be a Will. He can rush off the edge. So there's a lot to like about Braden Rouse, but still work to do even after the official visit. So we'll see where things go with him and the rest of the visitors. Again, big weekends coming up. My phone's blowing up, as you can hear. Michigan's hot on the recruiting trail. This weekend's a big one. You have Savion Hyder and others coming in. June 20th, Victor's Weekend. Make sure to subscribe to the Wolverine.com. Use that promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at the Wolverine.com. And also make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free.